story anyway. Oh, geez. Caught me gushing about some girls' show. I'm just kidding.
It's okay. We all knew you liked My Little Pony. You just
Yeah,
had to have
no,
the
I
courage to say it.
I just saw like a convention spot on that earlier today from like, Cringetopia or something on Reddit. And it's like, oh God. I know that they exist in real life, but like it's so much worse when you see them at a convention,
I am horribly addicted to that subreddit.
Oh yeah. I just see shit that comes through and it physically hurts me sometimes. So yeah, I don't actually browse it. So but
I can't help myself, and it's like I was sitting there, my feet are curled up and cringe, and I can't uncurl them. And
but I just keep reading.
I just keep
something
scrolling.
new about you. So
it's like SCPs in the toes. For your wanting to feel terrible about your life.
Yeah, for real life. Yeah.
Or better. I mean, you could read that and be like, God, I'm so much better than I thought I was.
True.
We should try and bottle that topic for next week since we don't have one. So
Cringetopia, we each go and pick the 5 Cringetopia ones.
No, I was just thinking people were better than, but whatever.
Oh, well, there's never not a good time to tell people how much better we are than them. I have never gone a day thinking to myself, I shouldn't tell people how much better I am than them. It's never occurred.
It's why we gave you a platform with our podcast. So
it needed to be.
Everybody needed to hear this message. It was just
one dozen people a week needed to know.
Yeah.
And you're 3 of the dozen.
Yeah.
All right. What are we arguing about first?
Dresden Files Allies Take 3, right?
Yes.
We were so mad we had to add 3. We had to add 2.5 villains to the list. So,
I see Marconis here. I thought he was a bad guy, Justin.
Yeah, no, he's actually talking about Ramirez.
So funny thing about this, you know how you referred to me as Justin, and what do you call Alex? The director? That's because she's in charge around here. I got no authority. I do what she tells me to do. So I had to put Marcone on the list. So
okay.
I'm better with the Marcone being on this list than I was with Maeve being on the villains list, but whatever. So do we want to start with him since you're going to single him out?
Yeah, go. You two can argue about that. I'll sit back with Andres for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah. Marcone's like the enemy of my enemy. That's as close to being an ally as he is. So there we go. That's it.
We did. Marcone, on the amount of times that we see in the books, is probably more often helpful to Dresden than Ebenezer. So he should go right up between Molly and Ebenezer.
Okay, now that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
I think,
and you know that. Like, did you craft that?
Loyalty who plays in here? Is he loyal to Dresden in any way? Does he want the good things for Harry at all? I don't.
Yeah, he wants to help him and then stand out of the way because Dresden is going to take care of other bad guys and do good things. That
he wants Dresden to take care of Marcone's problems, and if he has to give Dresden the tiniest bit of help along the way, then so be it. Notwithstanding the deeps, right? Because that's obviously like one of the biggest examples. And then, I guess we could give him Battlegrounds because you can't blow up Chicago. That's where I keep all my stuff. But I don't really think that Marcone did it because Dresden was there, right? Marcone did it because
thinking of changes because Dresden was expecting to have to bargain with him. And he's like, no, I'm just giving this freely. If you think that this needs to happen, it's probably going to be to my benefit. And it is going to be to Dresden's benefit to save his little girl.
Because he gave him Vadarung's name?
Yeah. And had Guard take him there.
See, my problem with that, though, is that we've seen from Vadarung's side everything since then. Vadarung will go out of his way to be helpful anyway. So I can't, like, the last thing that I would assume is that Marcone actually did that to his benefit. Like, his or Harry's, really. For all we know, Vadarung was like, oh, by the way, if you know any Harry Dresdens, give him my card. And like, well, that's oddly specific, Vadarung. Well, yeah, don't worry about it, my dude. Just if you run into a Harry Dresden, give him my card. That's all I'm saying.
It could be. Like, there's a lot of times where there's a setup of you deserve the answer when you're smart enough to ask the question. And that was the moment where Dresden was smart enough to ask the question of how do I find these people? And Marcone's like, well, you need to ask Odin. So here you go. But also, you're going to take care of my competition below the border. So,
Yeah, like the whole thing.
Well, and
it's
Marcone
just-
also didn't know what the reaction was going to be. I mean, he was surprised when Guard came back and said, he will see the wizard. You have not incurred it by even asking this. And he was like, interesting.
Yes, he was willing to take the debt of having helped Dresden because it was going to be that beneficial to Marcone, and it just turned out to be a freebie to everyone.
True. We can move him from F all the way up to above Susan then.
Right.
I didn't really think that was
definitely-
a competition. I mean, Susan is just,
Well, I personally would put him in C tier somewhere. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Like, he is competent and he is useful to Dresden and vice versa, right? But we're talking about allies, right? Like,
Right.
an
Are you telling me
incompetent
that-
bad guy could be useful to Dresden, doesn't make him an ally per se, right?
So of all the time, let's compare it like Marcone to Butters. Butters was helpful, has been helpful several times. Butters has
Okay.
also become a pain and the reason that Skin Game went so sideways when Marcone is
Right.
helping from the background the whole time and has been
Well-
helping in almost every book of either just being there, here's some information, or even him and his people
So-
being the victims.
To settle a score in terms of win Skin Games. Also, how hard did your arms get twisted for Map to be up in S tier by Alex?
Not much. They didn't fight me on
Okay.
that one.
no, I was
We-
happy with that.
we
I was
did-
fine with that.
Yeah. I challenged it a bit, but I think I got overruled. So, but yeah. But I mean, Mab's at least his benefactor and generally on Team Reality. I don't even remember
Mab
all the nuance.
Tries to
but
kill Harry much more than Marcone ever does. Marcone is always asking for his help.
And saved
giving
his
help.
life in the alley
Yeah.
despite fate wanting him dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Helped
that's-
him with the deeps and is constantly, I mean, like at most they were at odds of things like death masks because they're both trying to
True,
get the
yep.
Shroud, but they
You
had
know
the
what?
complication of Nicodemus.
The alley thing, fair point. He can go up behind Lara, actually. That seems fair. Him and Lara, they should be about even.
I mean, that would be poetic since her inclusion is what included Marcone. So, I mean, because to me, since you brought up Butters and then immediately pivoted off of your own argument, to me, the major difference between Butters and Marcone as far as it comes to being an ally is intentions. And kind of what we talked about with Lara last time, which is Marcone and Dresden are going to duke it out. Like if the two of them are alive on the last scrap of Earth floating through the cosmos, they will fight. That doesn't sound like an ally to me, right? Butters isn't going to fight him at the end. Lara's probably not going to fight him at the end. At least my perspective. I understand that I might be out on an island on my own with that, but that's why I think that Lara deserves to be an ally versus Marcone, right? Marcone is an ally of convenience, right? But like Butters does bad things to Harry, but with good intentions because he's an incompetent ally, which is why he's not rated higher. Marcone does good things for Dresden, but with bad intentions, right? When he gives Harry some money or information or something like that, he's not doing it for Harry's benefit. It's an investment. He's gonna get it back. He's not doing it for any altruistic purposes. He's not like, well, Harry generally saves children when he's running around, so we should help Harry because we've got the same interests. It's an investment. That's not really an ally to me, right?
That's no
Like,
different
you
than
know.
Mab.
So yeah,
True.
and like
That's why Map is
so
too high.
thank you for saying so, because I was the one that said that Mab maybe shouldn't be so high on the list, right? That maybe Mab's got some ulterior motives and Mab is actually kind of a bad guy. She's just like the only
Our bad
thing that
guy.
we've got, right? Exactly, right? Mab literally comes out and says, I would do something else if I could see a way to do it, but I can't. So I will be the bad guy because that's what must be done, right?
Yes.
Whereas Marcone's just a bad guy because he's an asshole and likes money and power.
No,
know.
he's doing that is his
Yes.
way of having power. Yes, having power to be able to protect what he cares about, just like Mab.
Which is
That's
Chicago
His people in
and the
Chicago.
continental United States, and all those helpless people south of the border that you mentioned that Marcone's just going to help out of the goodness of his heart. he's a bad guy with a heart of gold doesn't make him not a bad guy, right? Like, just because he helps women and children and he disappears people that violate his rules doesn't make him suddenly good. He's still absolutely a mobster.
But that's what actually makes Marcone an interesting character, right? Because you can kind of see him both ways depending on, I guess, who you are and how you like see these things. Like Alex see these things in a different light than Justin does. And
well,
I think Justin has good points, especially like everything he said about Marcone. I think the only thing where I would kind of disagree is Marcone and Dresden are the last two left. I think at least Marcone is too much of a pragmatic. So unless Harry wants to force the fight, Marcone just be like, "It's just us, dude. Fuck it. Like let's just call it a day."
Maybe at the end of all things, because like, what power is he going to exert? But just take the beach scene from Battlegrounds, right? You know, not today. That kind of tells me he's still planning it, right? I think damn well that what happened at Even Hand and where he shot down the Fomor, that bullet was not intended for the Fomor. That bullet was intended for Harry Dresden. And then Marcone saw an opportunity or a necessity, and that's where he talked to Guard about making more, because obviously the Fomor is an entire nation of creatures like Harry Dresden, where they're going to have all these magic users and they're going to need more weapons like this. And that just happened to work out for Battlegrounds. But the genesis of that plan was to shoot Harry Dresden and to break through his shield and kill him, because that's exactly what the bullet was there for. That's not an ally move.
And then if you want to look at it from Alex's point of view,
I mean, I don't.
On the list, that's the one.
It's not an ally move in the same way Batman having a kryptonite bullet just in case is not an ally move. I mean, Dresden's happily told Marcone he's coming for him every chance he's got. So I'd be prepared.
You're going to get us down a wild rabbit hole of how I don't think that Batman preparing to stop an evil Superman is like the wildest, craziest plan out there. And I mean, if you really want to wrap your head around and twist somehow Dresden being the same thing, you could do that. But I don't think Marcone cares. I don't think Marcone is like I don't recall somewhere in the text, and you're the encyclopedia, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall somewhere in the text where Marcone was like, we need more of these bullets just in case Dresden really does turn evil and decides to start eating people. Whereas it's a real threat with Superman. It's happened. They've run into extra dimensional versions of Superman that have also done that, right? So for Batman, it's pragmatic. Whereas for Marcone, it's like, I got to be able to take out my competition is the only.
Well, that's just
reason
pragmatic looking in a different direction. I mean, it's the same.
That's a villain move. That's like, well, Lex Luthor's got a kryptonite, but of course he does. He's the villain. That's the whole point, right?
But I suppose the difference between Luthor and Dresden, or Luthor and Marcone, would be I mean, by and large, either way. Actually, no, it's probably about the same, because I'm sure Superman would tell Lex he's coming for him too. And if the good guy's telling you that, then what else are you going to do?
Right.
So I mean.
I think this pragmatism is like it's kind of an essential feature of Marcone's character.
It's an essential feature of all of the Dresden Files characters. How many people don't have a backup of Dresden is scary, we need a way to take him out just in case? And everyone has had this hanging over him the whole time. Same thing with Morgan or Ebenezer. Mab, probably.
Really? Ebenezer's talked about all the ways he's going to take out Harry when he turns?
Well, he did. And then it was the one that...
Yes, because he's an idiot and a jackass.
But that was the threat when, why Ebenezer took him under his wing when he was a teenager. Like, because if he steps out of line, I will kill him. He just refused to do so.
I mean, that was also probably that was the selling point to the council. That was his grandson. He was going to, look after him. I don't think he was really planning to kill him.
Yeah, but I don't think the council knew... Not many of them, not all of them, probably. Ebenezer was his
that's
grandfather.
Part of the point. I'm sure Ebenezer told the council that was the thing, but that's why it didn't happen. It's because he didn't actually have any plans or intentions of doing so.
Right,
and I don't think he had any plans or intentions of doing so in peace talks. It just happened.
Right.
That
the
doesn't
council as a whole has been preparing
that
to take
people runs in the family.
And you can't say the council as a whole, because there's hundreds of wizards, and we've obviously seen several of them that have been allies of Dresden's at one point in time. So,
Merlin.
almost
so
all of
the
them.
leadership, sure, team
Not even all
Team
of the
Merlin,
leadership,
fine.
just Team
you
Merlin,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you think Martha Liberty is over there with a knife every time she talks to Dresden, just hoping that he, frowns
mean-
at her the wrong way? Like, give me a break.
She might not
You
be
think
on the
Listens to
verge of
Wind has
about
showed
to
up?
stab him, but she was the one who mentioned in Summer Night of what he was meant to be. This is why he is dangerous.
Okay, yeah, that's caution. That's not, I got a loaded gun just waiting for Dresden. I'm cautious around dogs I haven't met doesn't mean I'm getting ready to kill them or something. Like, it doesn't mean I've got literally a flintlock enchanted from a bullet that killed a hero 300 years ago in my back pocket. Let's not make some false equivalencies here on the lengths that Marcone went to have a weapon ready
She
for
has the loaded
Dresden.
bullet of the Black Staff. Sure, being on the senior council can order him to do so.
That gun's shooting blanks in more than one way, if you catch my drift. So,
You don't know that he doesn't still. I'm pretty sure he could still make.
Yeah, are you saying Ebenezer Fox?
think
Let's
that's-
just get it out there.
Yeah.
Hey, we're 16 minutes
Happily.
into the episode. We could drop an F-bomb now.
Also, I think if your neighbor's pit bull walked up to you and was like, "Hey, buddy, give it a year, but I'm coming for you," you might invest in
Yeah,
some
but
sort of
there's-
home security.
Yes,
But there's a difference, right?
I know,
You do
I'm just
understand
saying.
a difference between a defensive posture and an offensive posture. Marcone went and got a gun and said, someday I'm going to use this on Harry Dresden. I went and got a gun because my neighbor's pit bull is on the loose and said, someday I might have to defend myself against the pit bull. That's not quite the same thing.
but
I know if we
like
get
he's
really
saying, there is the point
down
of
to the
Dresden
wire, it
has
sounds like
said
it.
he's coming for him at some point. He knows
Marcone
he's
knows
on the
he's
defensive.
a bad guy. Marcone knows he's
That
a
doesn't
bad
mean he wants
guy.
to die.
Sure. But there's a difference, right? Marcone kills people. He makes no bones about it. He knows he's a bad guy.
Mhm. I
So
think this is
defending
probably
himself
going-
against the hero doesn't sound like an ally thing to do.
Well, no, but he has the out of being told in the same way that, because if you could make the argument, he could make the argument. Insofar as our interests are always aligned, I have basically been nothing but helpful to you. And every time we get into a discussion, you tell me you're going to stab me one day. So, all right, come and stab me, but you better not miss. And I think the totality of what Marcone has, it is probably going to be highlighted in the same way that Ramirez is on this list, but he has tanked himself of late
Sure.
to go. I think Marcone gets the benefit of, even if you want to call it enemy of my enemy is my friend, he gets the benefit of, up until it actually happens, his track record is what it is, and he has been helpful. Whether or not the interests are aligned being the reason, he has been.
But that's kind of the argument, though, right? Because we've talked about the efficacy of them being allies. We've talked about also like their willingness for it, right? So, for example, Bob being B tier, partially because whoever picks up his skull gets to wane his his allegiance.
As long as Harry has that, if it's Bob Harry holds, it's S tier, right? But because of
right, and Marcone, if he was actually on Harry's side, might be an S tier ally, but he ain't. And he's always going to have that knife. Everybody's seen that meme with that old lady and the bunny. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That's Marcone. Marcone looks friendly. He's going to smile. He's going to help. Yeah, I'll share it to you later. So, no, but but it's like, come on, dude. Marcone's not in it for Harry Dresden in any way, shape, or form, other than he's hoping that Harry's going to take out some of his competition for him. Literally, that's all he wants out of Harry. If Harry bumps off tomorrow, that's going to actually put Marcone out in the sense that now Marcone's got to do more work. Not because, oh no, Harry Dresden. Yeah, exactly, right? So that, I'm saying I'm fine with them going as high as a B- if that's what we want to do, so we can move on. But like,
yeah, he could be behind or just in front of Laura.
I think his intentions definitely balance out his efficacy in this case, right? So, and I think, shit, wouldn't that be a fun way to wrap up 12 months? Is that the bad guy is Harry's contractually obligated to side with Laura, and Laura and Marcone are in a turf war, because we know that's coming at some point anyway, right? It has to. They've been both built up the entire series. Marcone's already got into it with vampires, as we've sort of skirted the edge of discussing anyway. So, just wait until Harry doesn't care. He doesn't want either of them to win, but he's going to have to help one of them, right?
Well, that's why he's probably going to be the third wheel. Chicago's my territory. Both of you fuck off type deal.
Which I'd be okay with that too, but they're not going to just fuck off, right? So that's where the conflict comes in. So.
Well, he can fuck one of them off, sort of.
I think B- is fair, and
we already had the locker scene, so
yeah, and Lara will still be burning and everything, so that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, not after he has Marcone. So
no, that's a good point.
What are you saying, Andreas?
I think B- is a fair place to put him.
With me. He can be at the back.
So
B tier.
Yeah, what I was gonna call out the director for is like, if you could put him anywhere, you're gonna put him in S tier, or what are you gonna do?
No, not S, because he does sometimes hold back information or make Dresden ask for it. Like White Knight was a good example, but he's throughout the whole series, like was it chapter 2 or something? We meet Marcone and Marcone's saying, "Go away and be safe, and don't get involved in this," which is not what Dresden wants to hear. But he has been there the whole time and actually hasn't been an antagonist. So
that wasn't out of the goodness of his heart, right? That's literally straight out of the mafia playbook.
I'm doing something illegal and it doesn't. I don't need him.
It doesn't need to involve you. Please go. He tried to pay Dresden off, just like he's paid off half of the Chicago PD or all of them, for all we know. That's a bad guy move. That's not an ally move.
Intention can matter. But intention does matter. That's fine. But I don't have a problem with the character having an ulterior motive with their intention, just like Mab. I have no problem with the fact that Mab is using Dresden as a pawn in this game of Outer Gates reality chess. I have no problem with that. She tried to kill him like 80 times. That's fine.
Having parallel goals or something like that, that's different than having an ulterior motive, right? Like, Marcone wants to win. Marcone wants to have control over at least the mortal stuffs, right? I don't think he's got any bones that he's going to play against Mab, which is part of why he signed on to the Accords, so that he could have that cover, and whatever else. But that's not the same as paying off the guy who's going to go off your competition because he wasn't like, go home and be safe because he's up at night worrying about Dresden, right? That's not an ally move anywhere. That's a bad guy move.
You say that, but when it turns out he's actually Malcolm Dresden all along and we didn't know it, then
talk about daddy issues.
It's what the author would do.
Yes. Well, okay. Thank you for that. So where would you put him ideally if you had the final say?
I think he's more helpful than any of the rest of the people in B.
I agree with that. I think he's got worse intentions than anybody else in B. So
B it is.
Right. And I mean, it sounded like 2 B minuses, and I'm okay with that. So
I think he's very on par with Lara, except I think Lara has better intentions than him.
I think Lara has worse intentions. Lara's tried to eat him already.
Well, who hasn't?
Me.
I also think she's changed since then.
We are 23 minutes into this, so are we going to keep fighting,
Next.
or are we okay with that?
Next.
One of these should be easy. One of them's going in F tier, so this really shouldn't be hard.
Look, man, Lauro at least wants to jump his bones. That might be literal and figurative, but with skeleton part, not the other thing. But still slightly better intentions. I personally, maybe I'm being duped. Maybe Jim Butcher is that great of an author, but I think Laura has come around a little bit where she does want to be on Team Dresden, minus the whole misunderstanding of her brother, which I think was still stupid anyway. But Marcone, you had a couple of examples for sure, but I don't think he's ever done anything for Dresden out of the goodness of his heart. Maybe the back alley thing for inexplicable reasons, and maybe the introducing Vaterung, but that one's not one that it's not like Vaterung or Dresden couldn't have made a connection somewhere else, so that one's kind of zero sum to me. That's all. So that's why I think he should be behind Lara. Which we should really work on phrasing when we're talking about the White Court. So anyway,
I'm sure she wouldn't mind.
And when he makes a pass at Dresden in front of Lara, that's just going to prove that he's really not a bro. So after the whole locker thing, just had to bring that up. I don't know. Okay, should we talk about somebody that the director's going to love so that she stops frowning? So.
You'd have to ask her who that is because I don't know.
Well,
that would be Leah, probably.
She can't tell, but I'm looking at her. But yes, that I was thinking Leah. So, yeah. I don't know. I don't think Leah's really that much of an ally either, but she's probably at least more of an ally.
I think Leah belongs between Vadarung and Mouse.
I think Leah is. First of all, that's insane. But
so is Leah. But
I think Leah is one of the most efficient allies in terms of overall result we've seen. What she's done for Harry. But I think she might be one of the ones with the worst intentions. Like I don't trust her.
Hold on, she has the best of intentions. She just is lethal with it.
She has the worst. I don't know what fucking deal she made with Dresden's mom, but I swear, in the end, we're gonna find out she's a bad guide to Harry all along somehow. I swear.
No, she was going to turn him into a hound to keep him safe because otherwise he was running around Chicago naked fighting frog monsters and he could just be safe in wherever she keeps her dogs. Like, isn't that the best of intentions that a godmother could have in honoring the bargain that she made with Margaret to keep the son safe?
So I'm pretty sure I would put her on the same kind of wavelength as Mab insofar as she's one of those characters that even though Harry goes kicking and screaming, it's usually for his benefit the whole time. Like, she knows better. The difference between her and Mab is Mab's job and her mantle and however she gets it, her level of efficiency is magnitudes higher, and she's not as emotional by any stretch. Whereas Leah is, kind of cuckoo pants even before she went cuckoo pants. So she's much more prone to being mean for the sake of it, whereas Mab pretty much is mean just because she needs to drill it into Harry's head, like, you need to get the fuck over this, we got a job to do. So I'd probably put her in A tier, but maybe in the middle of it or towards
I'd put her ahead of Molly because of the efficiency, and she's part of the reason why Molly is as good as she is because of the whole Ragley and all that.
That depends on how you could attribute a lot of the ways Molly has gone now to being. Leah trained her, but she also had her living on the street as a crazy person. So,
which was effective.
Sure, but she's come into her own now after getting the mantle. How much of that is also now Mab taking over the training? So, it's not like it was nothing. But again, I think Leah is a solid. She's got to be a tier under Mab because of her scale of power and her emotional state and all this stuff. It brings her down at least a tier.
Where would you put her, Andreas?
I think a high B, top of B. I would never put Mab that high either, by the way. To me, anyone with the intentions that Mab and Leah has
of saving reality.
For Harry. Allies to Harry. He's a tool to them.
Can't destroy reality. It's where I keep all my shit. Like, God, the interests are very aligned.
What in all of the books have given you the impression that Leah gives a shit about reality?
The fact that she fought against the Nemesis infection. She wanted to be herself. She wanted to be on the side of
I was just pure obstinate. I'm my own bossness. That's why she also wanted to throw over
She doesn't want to be Nemesis, and she doesn't want things to be destroyed. If she wanted to fight Mab, she could. She probably has.
She probably did.
Also, let's face it, Maeve wanted to be her own bossness and then went right along with the reality destroying entity. So
right. Yeah.
There's priorities here.
I don't get a lot of good intentions out of Leah, which is probably a different argument, but yeah, like nothing. So like Mab expounds upon the fact that she does the thing that she does because she's Mab and because it's the only way that she sees out, right? Leah does what Mab wants, and or she does what she wants because that relates to Harry Dresden, right? You know, like Leah's never said like I'm doing this so that you can help save the world someday, or anything remotely relating to the fact that she is trying to help anybody save the planet, other than she does what her queen requires and she does what she wants with Dresden. Yeah, again, probably
No, her
oversimplifying.
ally
but-
argument, I think, lies a lot stronger in the bargain she has with his mom, because
I
which
mean-
that's not an argument. That's fey nature. She could have made that with the red cap. It doesn't make him an ally.
no, but
You
I
should have
think
put him on
in the
this list.
same way that Bob is beholden to whatever,
Right.
whoever's holding him at the time. This is a more permanent beholdens because it exists until we don't know what. I mean,
Okay.
it's basically his whole life.
Yeah. Are you ready for the scary? I'd put her behind Molly and in front of Ebenezer.
Okay.
So
That's not. I mean, that's what I said in between. So I'm
Right.
fine with that too.
but I'm looking at it. I think her efficacy and her general, you know exactly what to expect from her. I was going to say trustworthiness, but I felt like that was a
I
step
mean, can
too
I also
far.
just say, can we
That-
give her a few more points because she's hot?
No,
That's how we're
she's
doing.
his godmother. You sick.
Who cares?
So yeah,
I
know
that's not
there's
a
no blood
relation at all.
relation.
Exactly.
I
I'm
know
That is
not
that
related
not
by
a
blood.
relation whatsoever.
You're telling me that's not a little weird? Like
No.
that we're getting
It's a
very
little
dangerously
weird.
close to step ladder territory. All right, like just because your step parent doesn't have a blood relation doesn't make that not weird. Okay.
Yeah, if we're
So-
talking about humans here, we're talking about
Yeah,
an
she's
ethereal
she is
fairy.
a fairy godmother. The rules
Okay.
don't apply.
Do we want to like, well, what rules don't apply? Are we saying like the rules of power brokerages and consent? Because the fact that she's very clearly a more powerful entity means that it can never be a consensual relationship, right? You
Oh,
can never
she's the Winter
assume
Knight
that there isn't a
now.
level of coercion. So
I would say they're about equal, honestly.
no.
What, in terms of power? Not a chance.
No, in terms
Yeah.
of like hierarchy, I guess I was thinking of the Winter Court because of like as powerful as she is the second to Mab, and he is the Winter Knight. And
It's a
like,
very
Yeah, I
weird
would not say
hierarchy, but
hierarchy.
yeah,
I'm pretty
They're
sure she
both
outranks
high
Molly in a
level.
lot of ways.
possibly.
could be. Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying is that I think her efficacy is better than Sonya and Thomas. You at least know what to get out of her,
Mhm.
can a crazy style and, trust her to her word because she's a she and can't lie. I mean, she hasn't tried to kill Harry any more times than Ebenezer has at this point. So, I mean, it was a very cool suit of armor, with the pauldrons and the
Yeah.
ridiculousness and everything. But
No, she has a stronger example after the battle when she says she'll take him to the grave whenever he wants.
hmm
right.
And treat
She
the
doesn't
body
have
with
to
as
do
much
that.
respect as he would himself.
Yeah, that's fair. So is there like, and really, if we're going to play the hotness, can we deduce a couple of points? Because it's certainly weirder than the thing with Molly, right? Right. Like,
Really? Hold on. You think that Dresden and Leah is weirder than Dresden and Molly?
Preston
Yeah,
and Molly is
I do.
weirder.
I don't
Really?
think either of them are all that weird.
I mean, I don't think that
People kind
either
of
of them are
somewhat
all that weird,
familiar
except he
and
is
understood that.
just especially uncomfortable with Molly as an idea every single time.
No, yeah. I'm his comfort aside, that's one thing. But like, geez, I thought you were going a different direction. Because, for example, let's just make sure and get out in front of the fact that I'm not talking about any crazy ass implications that Dresden groomed Molly. And if there were any implications about that, tell me that Leah didn't literally groom Harry. So
She
again, with
ignored
the
him for
weirdness-
most of the time. I mean, as he was growing up. She probably was
Uh-huh.
able to find him. It's like, well, he's being fed and clothed.
Look, man,
oh, now there's an outsider.
She wanted
now
to
I
turn him into a hellhound. She wanted to literally groom him, okay? Like with a brush.
Gotta wonder about her fetishes now.
No, I don't think you have to
I
wonder.
don't.
I think they're pretty spelled out.
Look, man, never mind. I just can't even say it. Okay, so I'm a putter behind Molly. Does anybody have other than the director? Does anybody have a strong quibble? Because you wanted her up behind Vaterung, which I just don't see, or Mouse, which
I mean, I love Mouse.
Like except for
Would be
that
fitting.
except for that brain bleed of map and S tier, then the S tier is pretty good. They're loyal. They have good intentions. I feel like they're powerful, except Murphy, but she has like loyalty in spades at least.
Not
But
anymore.
yeah.
right. Yeah.
So no, I will not put Leah in S tier.
Are,
Oh,
you-
yeah,
are you going to be all that broke up, director?
I mean, I still thought that she should go above Molly because she was integral in making Molly as effective as an ally as she is. So she should get some bonus credits.
Yeah, balanced
but
against the fact
I mean,
that she.
I don't think she can. I mean, this is where it gets a little tricky with her because I don't think, but for the fact that she has the deal, that she would be as loyal as Molly is, for example, or even Ebenezer or Thomas. But
I mean, if she didn't
her
have the
efficacy
deal,
bumps it up.
right? If she didn't have the deal, she wouldn't be on this list, right? She'd
Well,
probably largely ignore Harry unless Mab told them to interact.
And it's possible
that's
that Mab
Well,
would
yeah,
have
I
done
guess it would
so.
only be a matter of if she had some sort of previous relationship with his mother and maybe a fondness for her, and it would have been more of a, I liked her kid. Let's see what I can do here, as
Right.
opposed to literally being bound to do it in whatever way it is.
Yeah, but some amount of affection probably was there as a reason as to getting into the bargain in the first place.
It's possible.
I mean, would
To
you
be-
take a bargain
to
to
be-
protect a child that you hated?
Well, I mean, that
Depends what you got.
I actually put extra energy into not hating children. So I mean,
Oh,
it
some
depends.
kids-
It
some
depends
kids
on the
need to be.
age and
Well, Leah would
yeah.
prefer
I mean,
to have
if
them
you're
for
15
breakfast.
and yelling at your mom, maybe, but like a
No,
3-year-old,
there's some
or
6-year-olds that need to
something,
be hated. That's fine. It just is what it is.
yeah. No.
They can
We'll get
grow
into
out of
that
it. That
later.
doesn't mean you don't
Maybe-
have. You can't
Can
hate
that
them
be
in
our
the moment.
topic next week? When's it okay to start hating children? Oh, won't we get canceled for that? Because that's a terrible concept.
The moment they wake
Anyway.
you up that first night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can hate things that they do, isn't the same as just like hating them, right? Like,
No, you have to wait till they get some personality to start hating them. I think 6 is a good range to start hating
Yeah.
a kid.
Why does
Well-
EG have what seems like an actual thought-out opinion on this?
I'm not.
I
I'm
was
not-
a camp counselor for a few years.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm not.
Horrible.
I'm not trying to play the parent card, but I actually have a 6-year-old that lives with me. So I'm just saying, it might be a little too early. Like, you could start forming some opinions about it, but yeah, like
Yeah, but you're
his life's
biased.
not
That's
over
your
yet.
kid.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's
Well,
what it is,
I'm-
and not the fact
okay.
that I'm a decent human being who doesn't
No.
hate children.
No, if there was somebody else's 6-year-old, snot-nosed 6-year-old running around, you'd have a little bit of hate depending on what they were doing.
Well, yeah, but I generally gear that towards their parents. I mean, the wife and I talk about all the time, be like, oh my God, he just did that. His parents are terrible. So I know where the source of the problem is. We say that about our kid. Like, so yeah, I got no bones about that. But yeah, he's not even self-aware enough yet to be making his own decisions for you to hate him for. That's what I'm saying. Like, 6 is still too young. 8-ish, 10, 12, somewhere in there, maybe, but we'll see.
It should be before 12. They're people before 12.
I mean, what are you, Republican? They're to people earlier than that, but
Or just like they have like a
Well, that would be you being
they have a
Republican.
personality. They have like a whole person there that's still developing. But it's like I can understand if you say that he doesn't have half a brain at 6, but like at 8 he should. He should have.
I'm not
you
I'm
see
not
what
even
he
talking
is.
about his genetic development, because if we want to get into that, there are arguments to be made for 25, right? Because your brain's still developing until you're 25, but we're going to send you to war at 18. Sure. Okay, but anyway. Okay,
But you
look,
can't
we got 4 minutes to talk about the next 5 dudes, like 4 minutes each. So maybe we should get on.
Well,
topic.
again, one of these should be very easy and is F tier. And I will hear no
You're
argument
wrong.
otherwise.
You're wrong, EG.
You
You
will
know who
hear
you're
plenty
thinking
of
about, and you're
arguments.
wrong.
Look,
So
man,
wrong.
Fort Hill makes sandwiches. That's at least D tier. So
Fort Hill is way higher than that.
yeah, I like, if you wanted to do F for Fort Hill because it's poetic, then sure,
Obviously. No,
Pick one.
we can do Fort Hill and be easy because I honestly don't care where we put him. I've never been enamored with him, but I don't hate him. I just put him wherever. I literally
an
don't
ally.
care.
S plus, got it.
I think.
You know what? If
think
you want to
he's,
do that because of the sandwiches, fine. That's the thing. Part of his
sandwiches S plus.
part of his allyship is a little simple. It's like he's just the kind of the guy you go to his house and he gives you food, and he also kind of talks to you and hands you a flask every once in a while. So that's
He's
fine.
an emergency babysitter for Michael.
Right, but
Right.
that's the thing. He's more helpful to Michael, who is by association therefore able to be more helpful to Harry, I guess.
he's C tier, right? He's like Billy and Georgia. He's not that powerful, but he's super loyal to the Dresden
I was
crew.
put him near Mortimer Lindquist of just like he doesn't have a lot of power, but what he does do, he does it well of like providing sandwiches and cots for people to sleep in and drums of holy water.
Just
I
because
would
this is
put
going
him
to
on
make
Billy Georgia personally because they're super loyal, right? They are, but they're not very powerful. I feel like Fort Hill's very much in the same kind of vein.
Okay.
just because it's going to make EG roll his eyes. Do we give him any points for what happened in Ghost Story confronting the gang members and stuff? You know, like
it was kind of stupid, but also really, show character. He has some convictions, he has some morals, and he'll stick by them.
I'm not going to argue that it's not something he wouldn't do, shouldn't do, maybe, but that's, if this book was full of people who did what they should do, it would have been a lot shorter of a series.
Yep.
So that's not as much of a, there's should and shouldn't do within character, and then there's should and shouldn't do within common sense.
Right.
His was in character. It was fine as far as I was concerned. It's just
director. Where did you put him?
I was thinking around Mort, but it's like you're right. We
Yeah,
could put him around Billy and Georgia. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's high. Andreas is around Billy and Georgia. EG doesn't care.
Nope.
So
I think
I'm
what
the
pulls Mort
tiebreaker.
up is he's on a way higher power level. Mostly, I didn't place him there, but I would also maybe have put him lower because way high power, way lower loyalty. So
Yeah,
kind of a coward. He's
I'm
smart.
stuck-
He's a smart guy.
I'm stuck between his overall true efficacy to the story is probably below Susan, but I can score extra points on the director if I put him above Marcone. So, No reaction to that,
She's thinking it over.
right?
I mean,
Like more than Toot, really? He's certainly less of a pain in the ass than Butters.
Like, no, I'm thinking that it really is more appropriate to put him near Billy and Georgia. That's like because he doesn't have much power. This is like Mike the Mechanic showing up.
Yes. Allies Part 4. We'll put Kincaid and Mike the Mechanic on the list.
Oh,
Oh, Mike the
Kincaid,
Mechanic is
wonderful
S tier. How else is the Beetle gonna get around? Like, hello?
I was going to say, listen, Kincaid and Goodman Gray are S tier as long as Harry pays first. So that's
True.
It's all
True.
conditional.
Yeah.
I would say, and Goodman Gray is way higher than Kincaid there because Goodman Gray is affordable.
No, see, I said I don't care, but not if you're going to put him below Susan. That's not
Below
no. Fly.
Should we just get this out of the way?
Yes,
then?
fine. Please put her down there.
Yeah, fine. Please. Sure.
Does that make everybody happy?
Yeah.
No.
Well, it makes me happier.
You want Susan higher?
No.
I understand why people hate her, but I also think that she's getting unfairly maligned beyond the reasons to have an actual issue with her.
I disagree.
And I had
malign
explained all of
everyone
this in a
equally, it's
previous
just other
episode.
people put them higher.
I mean, she's actively antagonistic to Dresden after, up to the party, certainly from the party on, whereas Fort Hill's never been antagonistic to Dresden.
No, he just proselytizes.
Yeah, I was like, he's on the opposite side of more
I have no
issues
problem with the
Dresden,
Fort Hill's
but
placement. I have more of an issue of Susan moving down a tier.
She can move
a
down
whole
more.
tier. You're mad about that? Okay,
Put her further
Like,
back.
we'll have to get into that more. So
All the way at the end of C.
I mean, personally, I do think that some of these guys might be a little high. It's certainly getting crowded. You're saying that all of these allies are C or better, and Susan especially. So I think she's helpful. I think she does get like an unfair amount of hate, but I think she's made some
How
really
dare you.
stupid choices. So like it's a tough hair to split between maybe people treat her too harshly and she's really dumb, so she kind of deserves it. So, you know, like
she didn't make her bad decisions out of being dumb. She did it willfully. But
she walked into a vampire party
willfully.
like after
She
being
didn't
told
stumble
She was
into
doing
it.
that for a story. She was full on selfish for that one.
Well, see, a stumble is an accident. You can't be mad
Right,
at
yeah,
somebody
I was
for
like,
being
you are
accident
usually on the
prone,
side of
but-
disliking her, and it's like you're trying to give her like this excuse of being dumb, but like, no, she
was dumb. When the expert in the field that you're in, plus also maybe somebody that you should be loving and respecting because you're in a committed relationship, tells you, hey, this is really fucking dangerous. Maybe don't do it. Like,
No, I think it's just a colloquial, again, hair split, where it's the difference between she's dumb, but she's not a moron. She's not, you know, she's not just like a person who got kicked in the head as a mule and wandered into this vampire party. She did a
Right.
dumb thing, but she did it with, like, quote unquote, her brain. You know, she was willfully ignorant.
So the party is a hard pass and completely stupid because she took all of these risks to get a story for a rag. It's not like she was going to get a Pulitzer out of this or any money or notoriety at all. The risk reward is so skewed in this that it could only be a stupid decision. Now, if we want to fast forward to the other thing that she gets shit on for, which is the whole Maggie situation, that's one where I say, look, I don't agree with the call that she made, but she made the best call she thought she could in the moment for a bunch of reasons, blah, blah, blah. That's a bad decision or one that I disagree with. That's where I think she gets maybe a little bit too much hate, even though I disagree with the way that it worked out, everything like that. The party is basically liquid stupid, like just straight up. She has been attacked by a demon. So she doesn't get to say, well, maybe Dresden's making it up some way, or maybe he's stretching the truth, or maybe there's some misunderstandings. You have been attacked by the supernatural. You fucking know better. And the wizard has said, look, the best way for me to protect you is you to not be there. And then you should get some extra weight because that person is also in a relationship with you. So you just kind of should be predisposed to trust them.
You know, I would agree. I thought it was dumb as an excuse, not as a multiplier. As a force multiplier, yes. I'm rolling right along with this.
Right. So yeah, so that started out dumb. She makes the best of it throughout the series and then makes some other questionable choices, we'll call it. But yeah, but it starts off bad, right? Just like Murphy hooking up Dresden with handcuffs in Full Moon was just like straight dumb. Like, regardless of, you know, the fact that she was within her authority and it makes sense, and especially in the current climate. But you know, her just not listening to Dresden, that was the dumb part, right? Somebody that she has a professional relationship with, she literally hires as a consultant to be an expert and then won't listen to him. Now, I know for some of you guys, that's super real, right? Like, we've all had customers not listen to us, but it's still dumb when it happens. And the level of dumbness with the risks and the rewards, you know, like, it sets up a really great scene with him being in the jailhouse and everything like that. But overall, I feel like it's a pretty dumb decision on Murphy's part. So we could get more into that. Murphy's.
I'm glad we went back to episode 1 again. This was.
I think we should probably place some of the characters we haven't placed yet.
Yeah.
Who's next?
F tier.
We can take the easy S tier, River Shoulders.
You just say S tier?
Yeah.
You're insane.
Okay. Well, we've gone full circle now. I think each of us has called each of the other insane by now. So,
I mean, like, River Shoulders is fine, but the reason they have a relationship is because he hired him to look out for something he cares about, his kids.
Yeah, and then they became fucking buddies.
Look, dude, if you jump off of a castle wall into battle and your buddy here jumps in after you, that's bros, man. Like, if you are there fighting with an archmage who lightning strikes a Dracula, the Dracula, and then airdrops grizzly form on him, and you're there fighting, that's a bro. So regardless how the relationship started in this case, like,
Let's put him next to Sonya.
fine.
That's fine.
He
He could be. I have no problem with him in A tier. He's not S tier.
He's not
Can we put him
present
below
enough
Ebenezer?
to be S tier.
Fine. I think he's just going to go up because he's going to be part of 12 months. He's
Oh, yeah,
going to
sure.
do the training montage.
We'll
and
have to
teach
do
him the
all of this
magic that he
again
did. Listens
when the
Yes.
new book comes
We
out.
should do it every book. Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
No.
We just do a quick review for each list. We'll only take one episode a list.
So we get Susan down to Z tier.
Right. Anybody
I mean,
opposed to
it's
him
like
being above?
they become buds. He does a lot of good shit for Harry. He's like insanely powerful. He's fucking
He
loyal. It's
he also won't tell him about being a Starborn because the plot isn't ready for it yet.
Which is like, bro, it's book 16. Can we get to that now? You've been teasing it since book what? So
4, I think.
Well, yes, of a vague mention of
Okay.
him being something he was supposed to be.
can we put him above Thomas? Are people gonna quibble?
Yes, no, hold on. He's not above Thomas.
He's yes,
There's people.
he's above Thomas.
no,
like,
he's not.
Thomas loves Dresden, but Thomas is also an idiot and not especially powerful compared to fighting Dracula mano a
Thomas
mano,
is there getting
okay?
hurt with him every other book. Come on.
Yes, that's why he's an A tier.
Yes, but he also puts his fucking he gets in trouble a lot for Dresden as well, right?
I mean, River
He has that
Shoulders has
Dresden
caused
trait of
trouble
not
for-
talking to as allies.
right?
Sometimes he's
Dresden-
required not to by his sister, who is also less of an ally.
Yeah, that's why she's rated below him at
Yeah,
B minus.
it should
Yeah, she's not as
Put-
high of an ally as Thomas.
put River Shoulders between Thomas and Sonya. That's fair. River Shoulders isn't there very often versus the guys that are there so much more frequently.
But when he's there,
Fine.
I mean, Thomas does
Right.
have the he
I'm
does have
saying
the
what,
quantity argument.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Hold on. Let's take a count here. How many wars has River Shoulders started? Thomas?
I don't
Huh?
Maybe he was
Huh?
there in the French and Indian War. Maybe he kicked that off. I don't know.
Poor Sonya. He
I
shouldn't
don't know.
be
So,
as close as-
I mean, Harry started a legitimate war. Thomas just started a kerfuffle between two people.
a kerfuffle. So, yeah, the only reason why that didn't break out into a war is because, like, look, until 30 minutes ago, we were having sex. So I'm going to let this slide for about 5 minutes, but you better explain to me what the hell's going on around here.
Well, and because a Titan walked in and kicked the Reality's best defender through a wall, and that kind of got
Multiple
everyone's
walls.
attention.
Yes. Yeah. Through a pantry, a larder, a Burger King, and a Taco Bell. It did change the tone of the conversation. Do we spend the next 7 minutes arguing about Ramirez?
There really should not be an argument. He's
Yes, of course there should be.
absolutely not. He's F tier.
So,
Get rid of him
as
forever.
several of Dresden's other allies have done, Ramirez has been doing something stupid for one book. Doesn't
he's not
kind
he's
of
not
break up
F-tier.
the whole Camp Kaboom, the Duel in the Deeps, War Cry. I'm going to totally throw that out there as canon.
Yeah.
Deadbeat, on and on and on. Come on. He's been an ally.
The Molly side story.
Great.
Okay.
Poor guy.
So
I'm not really sure that counts anything for Dresden's allyship, but
And,
here's the
and
thing.
the,
Mab.
at least Ellie adjacent. It's like addressed it adjacent, right? A lot of the loyalty.
I've
she
never
puts there,
found Ramirez
loyalty to
to
Harry.
be the strongest ally in the first place. It's not that he wasn't an ally. It's that he's. I mean, even okay. So in the Deeps one, the fight is about to start, and his first inclination is thinking Harry set him up because of the circumstance of it. Now, obviously, he comes to more or less later realize this was not the case, but he's still willing to entertain the notion that Harry set him up.
if you walk into a monster's lair with only the say so of a guy who has a bunch of secrets, wouldn't you ask yourself, why are we here?
I mean, he
wouldn't
probably
all the
should have
people
asked
that we have up
before.
in these high tiers not? Isn't that kind of the point?
Some of them wouldn't care, but
Right.
Okay,
but
so I'm
that's the
I'm
point.
not saying he's S tier, but he's definitely an ally, and he's
No,
a damned effective.
I'm not
one.
arguing he
So-
wasn't an ally. I'm simply saying the groundwork was already there, where it was like he's kind of this cool side character who's quippy and nice, and everybody likes him. But as far as real strong ally goes, I mean, he's not really there for the huge stuff. He's not there for Chichen Itza. We brush over him for that because there's too many
Sure.
characters. And then, so the first real big thing we get to see him in is this, the last 2 books where he's actively antagonistic. And it's like, up until then, is he hatting up every time Harry calls? Not really. I mean, they have
How many
conversations.
times does Harry call?
Well, okay,
I think
so
it's come whenever Harry's called. We can.
Right.
I don't think we can ignore the loyalty he shows to Dresden when, like, the whole searching for the evil warlock Molly, and he's like totally slacking it off.
Right.
Like, on purpose.
no, actually,
Also,
I think
the
proven
fact that
guilty is
he-
probably a little stronger, where he's willing to go against the Merlin on Harry's side. That's probably even a stronger reference for his allyship.
I think it's also easy to overlook the fact that in Deadbeat, any of the younger Wardens didn't necessarily take, God damn it, Morgan's side against him, right?
Mhm.
His superior officer probably told him to treat him as a belligerent, and he's like, no, anybody who lets me ride their dinosaur can call me Carlos.
Yeah.
So
But then he did the soul
but-
gaze to Lucio and Corpse Taker's body, and figured that all out, and managed to save Dresden from getting his head chopped off by Morgan.
Mhm.
It's very useful.
Right.
It-
Yeah.
it-
So
Ramirez and Butters have the same problem. They were extremely
sure.
helpful, and then they just decided I'm going to distrust everything you say. Ramirez has more of a reason to it, though. He did have his back almost like ripped out of his spine.
I mean, that's certainly probably affecting things lately. But straight up, like Ramirez's distrust of Dresden in the deeps is not unwarranted, right? Like, and that's part of the problem too. Like, I'm not going to blame him for having a distrust for Harry, because Harry literally has a fallen angel in his head telling him, ancient Etruscan. So
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of, hey, would you like to explain why you're so in with the White Court, types of stuff, right? So yeah, I don't think he's S tier. I think, maybe before Peace Talks and Battlegrounds, I might have pushed him that far or tried to. So I think the bigger question, just to kind of focus it in a little bit, is would you put him somewhere in A tier, and like as a linchpin, do you think he's more or less effective than Mortimer or Butters, for example? I think Butters is a pretty fair example, but I think Ramirez has also been way more effective than Butters, right? So I
He's
think
also
that's
been more effective as an antagonist. Like, I want to give him the points of being effective as a protagonist, helpful person, but also the deception and everything he did in Peace Talk and Battleground was even more of a detractor.
deception or the tracking, because there was a
That is the deception.
I don't really feel that wasn't any more of a deception than what Harry did to him in his cloak, right? Like, I feel like Harry definitely pushed the boundaries there a little bit further. What they did was wrong, but I don't see it as like just a straight deception.
Well, the cloak, I mean, that gets thrown back in his face, and it's like, wait, no, you did that first. And then later
Right.
on, after the battle and everything, where he throws all the deaths in Harry's face, and it's the whole, it adds the hypocritical angle to it that, is part of the reason I hate what Butters does in Skin Game as much. It's the same kind of, you know better than this, and you're actively deciding that we're going to be the antagonist here.
Right.
So, I mean,
So out of the A and B tiers, I don't think Ramirez has stabbed Dresden, but I'm just saying several of his other allies have. So how does that count?
you don't really love someone unless you want to stab them. So,
Is that what they taught you?
Yeah.
So, director, personal question: how many times have you stabbed husband?
Never.
Yeah, well, weird. I just
How many times have you been stabbed, Justin?
by the wife or
Well, by, I guess anyone who claims to love you.
okay. Hold on.
I
I don't think she's ever actually stabbed me. How many times have I laid awake at night thinking that it's coming, though, is certainly more than 0. So
So your relationship is on a stronger ground than the director's.
we don't know. We didn't ask her the same question. So yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure she sleeps soundly going, no, I'm perfect. No one's ever going to stab me.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I don't expect to be stabbed, and I would never stab him.
Well, this is concerning. So does he watch the show? Because
No.
I'll give you my number. You can message me anytime you feel unsafe, dude. So unfortunately, I think I'm the closest regionally to you. So I mean,
This is
first call
certainly
911,
not me.
but anyway, all right. I mean, I would personally let him slip as far as behind Sonya if we wanted to, and you can fight me for every inch past that. So, but
I think he should be at the end of B.
well, yeah, you want him behind Mark
I
Henry.
actually think I agree with that. And
Which one?
the end of B.
Boo.
And I think he should be lower, so I guess that has to bump it up to the end of B because no one's going to put him down lower than that.
You guys hurt my feel bads. You guys are all gonna feel silly when he comes around.
No.
Then he goes up, I guess. I don't know.
No,
He's
I'm
a-
going
but I
to feel the
feel
same thing I feel about Butters is no, we're just rushing through this to give him back in Harry's good graces again.
Nah. Butters doesn't need to be in Harry's good graces. He's already there. That I can't wait till we've got all the nights sitting around at Michael's in his garage drinking beers about how stupid Harry's been. It's gonna be great.
God, I hope Nicodemus firebombs the house when that happens.
Do
Well,
we
no,
wanna
actually,
keep
because Sonya would never partake in such a uncouth conversation.
what, firebombing Dresden's place?
No, he would firebomb Dresden's place. And in fact, of all the nights, he'd be the one most likely to actually use a firebomb.
Right. Like actual Molotov cocktail.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sucks for him that Harry lives
It's a
in a
point of
castle
civic
now.
pride.
So right. Do we want to save these two for part 4 and we'll add
God.
some of the others that we did?
Who are we missing? Who at this point?
Well,
There's
I
a
mean, we
part
said
four.
Kincaid and what was the other one?
Goodman Gray.
Uh,
So again,
No.
conditional, as long as
You-
they purchase him first.
You're adding those two together, but there was somebody else that we didn't add.
Mike the mechanic.
Yes, Mike the mechanic. That's what it was.
The Mortal Smith.
Yes. Then we'll put up Etri and Ivana and no, so we should just do these ones then.
Yeah, I think we pushed through.
I
and
think
then
we can pound through these two.
Yeah.
Really, that's the
Think so.
phrasing you're going to use.
We can ram it in there.
Uriel's androgynous, man. He's got no parts. That's part of the whole thing. Didn't you?
You don't
watch
know that.
Dogma?
You didn't take
He
his
can make
pants
whatever parts he wants.
You're
He's
right.
got no. It's
I
not that he has
personally
none
have
of the
not taken
parts.
off his
He
pants.
has all of the parts.
Be not afraid.
Trench coat. That's right. That's a retell. That's like a Frank Miller retelling. Be not afraid is a homeless guy with a trench coat, but he's just.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when we're saying all of the parts, are we talking like he's got? Never mind. Like
Keep going.
each size,
going
or
down
how
this
does that
rabbit hole.
work? Like, is he a pentapenis?
Every
or,
species.
You know. Yeah, right. Like, does he have the corkscrew thing from cats and ducks and shit?
No, that's
Like-
that's the ducks. The cats have the barbs.
Oh, okay. The barbs, right? Yeah. How could I forget? Sorry. Which of the animal kingdoms rape each other the worst? You know. Like,
That would be the
so-
ducks.
Yep, it would be the ducks.
Have you
Yeah.
heard cats getting it on? Like-
Yeah, but it's less rape and more just they like the BDSM side of it versus the ducks will actually rape each other.
I was going to
We've
say,
already
I
taken this
I
way
guarantee
further
you,
than. Yeah.
I guarantee you, Cat Sith has enjoyed a good ball gag every now and then. So,
He had one in Thomas's
It's
car.
not. It's not always about the abuse. It's just about boundaries. All right. So and communication.
yeah, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Okay, Elaine. Like
See?
I feel like she should be kind of somewhere in the middle for sure. I
Someone
feel
Billy
like-
and Georgia-esque. Like she's nice when she's there, but she just doesn't. Oh, she was also lying to him in Summer Night.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say, she's pretty powerful. She's been decent enough when she was there. I don't really trust her.
Yeah, I know, because you want all competition for Harry's affections to be booted down. until Lucio is back on top.
No, that's nothing to do with it.
See, I'm still squarely in the camp of Elaine gets the bad rep that you seem to think Susan gets, director. That I think Elaine's done far less to show. Her stuff is like, I'm not going to be shocked if it turns out that she was the villain all along, but I will be a little surprised because it's just it has not been enough pointing to this duplicitous. Other than, so you have the first 3 books where Harry's got this opinion of her, and then Summer Night comes along and he gets context, or what we assume is the actual context, and then from there on, it's just that book is self-preservation for the 2 of them, but she does come through in the end instead of just saving her own skin.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only other real strong one is White Knight, where it's kind of, she's doing what he does now, but for the other side of the country. And she just happens to be brought in to this situation.
In White Knight, she's definitely an ally. And in Summer Night, she's trying to be an ally. She seems to be waffling on it, as well as bound by her own oaths that she has to stick to. But there's these implications that in Summer Night that she is lying to him. Because at one point she says that her debt had been given to Titania. But then at the end, she said her debt had been given to Aurora. And now that Aurora is dead, that she no longer has a debt. But that we know that's not how it works, because it would have passed with the mantle to Lily.
Well, it doesn't mean she knows that's how that works.
Right. Also,
Fairies would have
Lily, now
informed her.
Would
Now
they
it's
have?
Sarissa.
That sounds like exactly the thing that wouldn't have informed her of.
At
I
some
get
point,
the feeling shouldn't that knowledge just pass? Wouldn't it? Like,
I mean, Lily might need
like a
to
Rolodex?
ask the question, but at some point
true.
over a couple of years, she probably would have learned how to ask that question and figured out if she has some form of tie to Elaine.
Real quick, pro gamer move. If you ever acquire a fairy mantle, I think the first thing you should ask is, please list all of my assets and vassals.
And debts.
Yeah, and just
You
can't.
know,
yeah, sure.
this is
I
interesting.
think the Elaine of today would know whether or not she was still bound to Sarissa, for example. But the Elaine of yesteryear, I'm not sure she would have.
Let's be real. Elaine's not exactly the first person to be on the lam from the fairies and their debts. Okay, so she
Right.
probably doesn't care, or
Well,
at least
I mean,
it's not come up in our story.
It's the same as Harry, right? I mean, that same book, he finds out his debt was sold, and he's like, "Wait, what? How does this? No, this is not a thing." So, I mean, it's the same kind of general principle. I don't think they know, and there's no reason for the fairies to tell them until it most benefits the fairy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is also this risk of she was working very closely with someone who is infected.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to say. Like any distrust of Elaine isn't necessarily like directed at Elaine per se, any more than all of the distrust for Harry from his allies has been aimed at the fact that they can't trust his intentions and the people that he's working for. Right. Sure, Harry might be a good guy, but he's being played by monsters in the same way that Elaine was. She literally had a whammy from a dark wizard. And sure, that guy is DED dead, but who knows what else is out there, not to mention the fact that she's one of the prime candidates potentially of being Kumori, right? So, there's a lot of
Well, and being a Starborn herself, potentially. So it's a matter of whether or not
Right.
if she's got the same obstinance that Harry does, then she's as much of a weapon and a loose cannon, and also potentially unaffected by Nemesis.
Maybe. Like, I think she's definitely there to be a foil of Dresden in a lot of ways and that sort of thing. And maybe underutilized in that regard, depending on the story and certainly overall in the series. But like, I don't personally think she's going to wind up being like a Starborn, right? Like we found out that it was a period of a couple of hours, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
that,
I don't know if he's settled on how this is all
Right.
whatever.
Which hopefully we'll find out in 12 months, when Harry finds out, hopefully, for the love of science.
No,
finally.
because again, it's gonna, at the end of the book, when he's supposed to get married and he's supposed to find out all these answers, and then he gets ripped into the mirror dimension right at the end, so he finds out
Right.
none of this shit.
or the kaiju steps on his castle or something.
And then we got the whole book in the Mirrorverse where he finds out nothing because he's busy running away from the alternate people who want to kill him.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's entirely how it's going to go down either. But anyway, as far as her allyship, like she's in a lot of ways, she's every bit as capable as Dresden. And, you know, she's got her own stuff. Sometimes their goals align like they did in White Knight. The questioning her loyalty and distrust of her has more to do with the fact that she's been every bit as entangled with fairies or, you know, been mind manipulated. I mean, hell, really, at least twice. You know, the Skavis got to her as well. You know, so there's always going to be doubts there until, you know, she just straight up says, yeah, okay, we're on the same team. We're doing the same things, that sort of thing, which we kind of got in White Knight. But I don't know. Anyway,
I mean, that's the thing. If she turns out to be evil overlord version of Harry, it would only be like a slight step above Hannah Asher kind of coming out of left field, where it's like, wait a minute,
right?
Why,
oh no!
Why is this a thing? you haven't built her up anywhere near enough for this.
Right. That's fair.
I mean, you know, there's still books left. If she shows up in every single one of the next books, then that could certainly sway things.
Yeah. I'm starting to think I'm predisposed to probably too rosy of an ending, because I could easily see her fighting, you know, back to back with Dresden in the BAT somewhere, right? But, you know, we'll see where that actually shakes out. But
I think it would be neat if the BAT, it turns out Harry's evil and the BAT starts down from Elaine's point of view and she's the new Harry. Boom.
I'd be down with that. Like, if this entire time we had the Dresden files, but then it turns out that she's actually the Starborn, you know, like, it wouldn't be the worst. It wouldn't be the worst thing. But since it's his name in the marquee and it's not, you know, like some
Seems
other
improbable.
You know, yeah, some other neutral storytelling method or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Okay, ranking. Where
Billy
are we going to
and
put
Georgia.
her?
Put her next
Above?
to Billy and Georgia.
Above, below?
Below? There you are, around more often.
I'd say above Billy and Georgia. Power level pulls it.
She's got them
up.
in power. She's got them in history. They have her in quantity.
Billy's definitely a little bit more antagonistic in some ways, and Elaine's actually put out for Harry. So, you know, it's a tough call, but
Man, S tier.
Sold. Sex tier. That's what that actually is. That's the sex tier.
Ooh, poor mouse.
How do you feel
Zeus
about
to go
Mouse
or
there now?
Michael. Like, Michael's not getting the grace back after this one. We're definitely going to have to bump Marcone up, though, in the list. So,
Oh yeah, the locker room. You know,
that should be a future tier list, right? So, kill, marry, no.
Fuck,
bangable. No.
So,
there's a lot of people who it's going to be all the same. Like, they would fall under all those categories.
right. Yeah, but the order of operations does matter sometimes.
Yes.
So, yeah. And that feeds back to your original tier list. So,
I think Mortimer's the only way you can get away with kill and then fuck Mary being the order. That's the only way it could possibly be done. He's the only one.
Anyway, so EG, did you give us an answer above or below Billy or elsewhere?
I mean, above. I would also put her above Ramirez, but you know, that's
above Ramirez.
Why that's
I don't know if I'd go that far, but okay.
Can we move Susan down now?
Yeah, please.
So Uriel is going to be G tier. Give me a second to set that up. So yeah,
Yeah, Uriel's an odd one to try to put.
right. Or Tyrael, you know.
Power
as
level
it
off
may-
the charts, extremely limited. Seems to have done only good things for Harry, for as far as we know. But who knows what the fuck he's really done?
Yeah. I guess
There was
put
that
him at
whole
the-
thing with the plagues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is the one that Mab likes the most. I would
And
say
has
put him
less,
at the end
but
of
also
S.
has less agency than her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why
Oh.
I say. So I'll put this right off the bat. I don't think he goes as high as her and other people in S tier because he's got still like a boss, and he's still got all these
Same boss as Michael, right?
limitate. Well, but Michael's got free will in a way that Uriel does not.
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody that Uriel did park his grace somewhere so that he could stab a bitch if he needed to, though. So
yes, he
he
did. do
did-
that.
as far as we're talking about the love scale, like that's he'd marry Harry.
Well, see,
if-
that's the
if
thing.
It were allowed. You know?
That's the distinction, I think, is Uriel is an ally to Dresden insofar as he's an ally to all of humanity equally.
Sure.
Or maybe not equally, because some people are more important and favored, but you're not supposed to
He
say
seems
that
to
as
have
an
a
angel.
kind of a soft spot for Harry because of his chosen oneness, like of whatever his
He does.
destiny is.
I'm sure he does. And this particular Dresden, as we'll come to find in the multiverse.
Yeah,
since
since
he's
he's
the
there's
we're
one
reading.
Uriel for all realities, right? He's the Uriel.
Mhm.
That's how Jim
He
said
is
it.
also willing to, quote unquote, chuck his grace aside to save a soul, whether that soul is Nicodemus or the acolyte. He does it all at one big shot. But he's kind of he's an ally to everyone that wants to pull themselves up by their bootstraps type deal.
I think S tier, bottom S tier is fair because there's a lot of unknowns, but so far as what we've seen, what Ichi says, his power level's really high. He's only done good things, but I think there is room in this story that for a lot of twists with him still. So from what we've seen, I think he's an S tier.
I mean, me personally, I have a hard time putting him above Molly, but that's kind of also because of Molly's placement. So, but that's me.
Was that there when we placed Molly?
What?
Was that the first episode?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
almost
don't even
certainly.
remember.
Well, she wouldn't have been left off.
Right.
I mean, so if it was like Molly gets bumped up to the bottom of S tier and Uriel's top of A tier would be if I had my druthers, how I would do it. But that's me.
I mean, I think I'm okay with Molly in A tier, but but that's because a lot of what drags her down to A is stuff related to map, and I wasn't there. She got placed in S. So.
See what happens when you make life choices. All right, somebody else has to proffer an opinion here because I gave mine.
I mean, I'm good with low of S because of all of his power. He's never been an antagonist, more or less. He's always been doing good things, but it feels like this giant unknown, so I don't want to put him above anyone else in S.
He gave him Soulfire.
Which he
given him
was very
advice
quickly
and
about to kill himself with.
And counterbalanced. Yeah, I mean, shit. He's a wizard. He's going to kill himself with his own power.
Yeah.
He's been the balance to lash into the enemy multiple times.
Yeah, and he's always been helpful. He's always been helping Dresden do good things.
He's never bounced his head around an elevator or tried to poison him with asps.
Mab did that.
That's because he can't. He would if he could.
So Mab full on just like she's got the most love for Dresden because she's tried to stab him in his sleep the most times.
Exactly. Yes.
Listen, Uriel is firstborn in Egypt and all those plagues, right? I mean, it's not like he can't get down with the biblical stuff if he's allowed to.
Right. Yeah, see, because to me, that's the only thing, right? Like, if he's allowed to, he gave Michael his freaking grace to back up Dresden. And that, to me, was an act of free will, even though it's obviously confined in a lot of ways. Like, I personally would put him behind Mab if Mab's going to be up that high, but like, I understand he's limited, but if we're talking about efficacy, his power level is technically infinite because he's admitted to being able to unmake galaxies, right? So compared to all of these guys, he's off the charts, right? If we want to put him lower than, like, is he lower than Bob, for example, for his limited free will? I don't think he's that low. Because while he is limited with free will, he could literally give his grace up in order to go stab somebody in the face if he needed to. Not literally, but that's almost what happened, right? In defense of Michael's family. That's a tough one to balance, but as far as his like overall impact on the story, yeah, he's quite a bit lower than a lot of these characters, right? In a way, like
depending how
Skin
you
Game
look at it.
notwithstanding.
Well,
yeah.
there's Skin Game, but there's also like
Ghost
the
Story.
amount of times he's been manipulating things from behind the scenes. Like I'd say proven guilty to making sure that Michael and all of the baby wardens showed up at the exact right time to save Molly's life. And
Does he claim that, or is that
There's that
presumably
short.
his
There's
hand?
that short story.
yeah, the warrior
Yeah.
was that?
The
Yeah.
warrior? Yep.
Yeah. Of all of these little things that Dresden is just aware of and can impact just enough to be able to make good things happen. And Uriel is pushing him into the position to be able to be that fulcrum to make those changes. And then Dresden tries to send him a bill. And
Right.
Uriel's, probably the reason that like Michael survived the small favor. There's
a lot of supposition there, but since some of it is obviously divine hand, I'm willing to allow it. But
yeah.
as far as like overall impact on the story, I think that's going to be his biggest, mark against him, right? Is because he's certainly there and whatnot, but
yeah,
he's not there, right? Like, you could just straight up saying like the only reason why Harry made it out of Chichen Itza is because of divine intervention and whatever. But as far as like, being present,
so he's in this weird spot of like he's definitely helping things behind the scenes, but we don't always know that he is there doing things, and so it can be very manipulative feeling, and that might be part of why this giant unknown of what is he doing, what does he actually care about? He cares about reality, same as Map. Okay, cool, but he feels so like distant and kind of cold at the same time. He's also Mr. Sunshine.
Well, yeah, I think the difference is, so like I think he does care for reality, but that's not his job. His job is to care about free will. So most of his balance and his machinations, especially where Harry is concerned, balances that out, right? He admits sending Butters in Deadbeat is another one that pops to mind, right? Sending an incipient Knight of the Cross to balance out a defunct, Knight of the Denarius, basically. So like we see some of those things, the fact that Michael and Sonia just get to, or in this case, Butters get to show up where they are. We don't always know if that's him directly. We do know that it was him in Butters' case for sure. So there's some of that stuff, but but he's balancing out that enemy, not even necessarily the outsiders, right? Have we seen him directly interact there in any way? Because he balances out Lash.
Yes, because proven guilty.
The Denarians.
If everything that Michael was doing was directed, if we can attribute that to Uriel, then Michael was fighting outsiders in the baby warden camp.
Okay. That's a hell of a stretch, but I think you're right. So, okay.
So he wasn't named as being the reason why anything happened in Proven Guilty. He wasn't actually introduced until a couple books later in Small Favor. But it's just like someone's manipulating things in the background, and he's the one who's put a face to it, so it's got to be him.
Well, we also have, I guess it depends on how much more broadly of a question of angels versus outsiders there are, but you have Ethnu, who is not fond of Namshiel, and he's not even Uriel's level. So whether or not that's just a personal history thing, but they are around getting involved in whatever way they can, at least having some sort of relationship with outsider adjacent people at worst.
So if he's the reason why Michael's able to be where he is to get the good stuff done, does that make him kind of Michael's boss in a supervisory level and therefore rated above Michael?
He's a person who puts in the ticket for Michael to go fix.
Well, but that's the thing. He puts in the ticket for Michael to go do that, but he does that for everyone Michael's supposed to help. the fact that Dresden is the one we read about it happening with is. So that's why I think Michael would be higher than him, because Michael is very much a Harry ally. Uriel is a Harry ally, but he's also just a people ally, more generally speaking.
Okay.
You know, that's what he says his job is. My job is to make sure people have a choice, not you, Harry Dresden, even though Harry Dresden is obviously implicit in that.
And you're the one arguing for the bottom of S?
Well,
Or
yeah,
where would you put him?
I was the one arguing for Molly ahead of him and him in top of A. But if it was bottom of S, that would be 6 of 1 to me.
Okay. Andreas?
Anywhere in S, I think I'm happy.
Okay. Director?
I'd say bottom of S because the personal loyalty of the other ones outweigh it for me.
Okie dokie.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. I mean,
Bottom
like,
of
in
S, yeah.
terms of
Bottom of
power, he has more than Mouse or Murphy, but they
more than
It's
everyone.
more than Michael Vaderong on map 2.
He has more
Yeah.
than all of them combined.
Yeah.
He is more than Ethnu, and she's the up till now otherwise strongest entity that we've seen, right? And actually unleash, their power, but yeah. He just
Yeah,
wouldn't be
much.
able to use it, and I'm sure he would do equally bad things as Faravax to reality if he did. So,
Yeah.
Worse, because I
For
don't think
sure.
I don't think he'd have to try.
right. Hopefully he would be smart enough to bip her out to some place that they wouldn't destroy Chicago in the ensuing fight, Man of Steel style. So you could just see
I still
Uriel's
can't
got
believe they
her
did
in a
that.
headlock as her little eye is going to sweep that family for no fucking reason. It's like, thank you. So
That first fucking Superman movie still makes me angry.
As it should.
all of them.
Yeah, they're all everything.
Why did you
Zack
say
Snyder does.
Like, oh, thank you for such good writing, such good plot. Why did you say that name?
Whoever keeps giving him work needs to be shot.
So who's on for episode 4 now? We got to come up with like a whole new list of, or are we going to be done with this?
Who knows?
Are we done with allies at least? And then we can find another tier if we have to really start arguing.
Let's
we
let
need
the
better
fans
ideas.
decide. Put it in the chat, tweet, put it on Reddit. Get us
Yeah.
feedback. What do you want to talk about next? So
Just understand that we will ignore you if it's a stupid idea.
Or we'll make fun of
EG
you.
will ignore you.
Don't discourage them, E EG.
But
What? No one who suggests us things thinks their idea is stupid until I tell them it's stupid.
There are no stupid ideas, only stupid people. So it's just
From 6 years old on up. As we
and next week, watch us talk about who fucking knows what.
yeah.
You
Is
know
it okay
why?
to
It's
hate
comedy
6-year-olds?
movies.
Who knows?
Because we're doing
No,
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 no
not
matter what
next
we
week.
do now.
No, that's
Not
that's
next week.
the week
That is
after.
next
The
week.
2 weeks after.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Next week
Yeah,
is
we
no
gave
topic.
ourselves a month because 10 comedy movies that. So remember, the Ben and the director haven't actually watched any funny movies, so they had to watch like 8 of the 10 movies. Whereas like you and I know comedy, so we got to watch like Ben's movies.
Well, no, yeah, we just
And
we
whatever
gotta
the
watch
hell
these
Four
other
Lions
movies for
is.
pleasure if we want to watch a funny movie again.
Right. Yeah. Like who doesn't want to watch Ghostbusters again and Spaceballs again and Monty Python? Really, Andreas? Seriously? How old are you and you haven't seen this movie?
I've even seen that one.
What?
Holy Grail.
I've
No, he
seen
hasn't
Holy
seen
Grail.
Blazing Saddles.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen Blazing Saddle. Yeah.
Oh,
Host ranking wars? What? We rank ourselves? How corporate is this podcast? I'm going to give myself a rating. Like, I'm
I mean-
obviously S tier because
I was gonna say I'll happily put myself at the top of S tier. I don't give a shit.
I have the buttons. I have a title.
yeah, I'm going to have to show the director how to do the tier list so she can
Yeah.
put this on our.
You
permanent
belong in
file.
D tier, director.
Harsh.
Sheesh.
She doesn't have enough life experience to be ranked higher than that. She doesn't watch anything. She doesn't do anything. She just is.
What do you mean?
She hasn't even thought about stabbing her husband. Like, really?
I'm serious. She hasn't lived.
Oh boy.